All right. So, welcome back to the ASM Podcast 2020. I have a special guest today, Alex from America. Right? No, Alex, you are a collegiate coach at Georgia State, right?
Correct. Cool.
And you've come all the way down here to West Palm Beach. Are you doing recruiting? What's going on?
I was on a recruiting trip visiting one player down in Weston.
Awesome. So you literally flew all the way down just to watch that player?
Absolutely.
Wow. So that's what you got to do these days, right? To get the recruits in.
100%. The right ones, anyway.
The right ones. Awesome. So I want to do today is talk a bit about you, your background. I know you were a college player right at Baylor University.
Yeah, I played at Vanderbilt for 2 years, transferred to Baylor, and played there for another 2 years.
Cool. And how was that? Like, how was that kind of experience playing at Baylor initially? Because I know it's a big time Division I program.
It was obviously a big commitment, just like playing for any school, but the standards there are extremely high academically and athletically, so the daily commitment was huge.
Huge, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your recruitment process? Because I know when I did mine, it was like kind of chaotic, but being a Brit kind of was not used to the process. As an American, surely it must be a bit easier, but I've heard some different stories. So what was yours like?
Mine was really easy, and mine started very early. The coaches started coming out. Obviously, they couldn't talk to us yet, but early in my high school competition days. And so the ones that came into the game with me early were the ones I kind of stuck with through the process. So I think seeing a commitment from a coach to your high school journey and recruiting process means a lot to players.
Yeah.
So when you see a coach that's dedicated to you and paying attention to you and your results and your development, it should kind of give you a green light for that person. Right.
And when you were kind of finishing your playing time, what was kind of next steps? You got straight into coaching, or did you turn pro? What did you do?
So when I finished my playing career, I had a 5th year because I lost credits transferring. So I had to finish up school, and then I graduated. And a week after I graduated, I drove up to Connecticut, where I got my first head coaching job at a D2 program, University of New Haven.
Yeah. And then you just started, that was it, career into coaching, and you just loved it ever since
right
then.
Away, yeah. And Division II compared to where I am now at Division I is a bit different, and so it was a great experience seeing both levels.
And why did you transfer? Like, what made you want to leave, say, Texas to when you were playing before you did your coaching?
When I left Vanderbilt, I was really looking for a different player-coach relationship. Jeff at Vanderbilt, he's a really good coach, a lot of experience, but I just didn't feel that click I needed to stay. And so I gave it 2 years and still wasn't feeling like it was the best fit. So that's why I started looking around, and Baylor was a great fit for me, both athletically and academically. It was great.
But overall, if you were to do anything differently, would you do the same again, or would you maybe do more research yourself in the process? What would you maybe do differently?
I did. I did do a lot of research. Initially, I was committed to transferring to TCU. Yeah. And Baylor was extremely persistent. And Joey really showed interest in me, and so that's why I went on a visit there as well and changed my mind. So. I'm really happy with my decision. Ultimately, it was a great fit, and I had a great experience.
Awesome. And now you're at Georgia State, right? So you did. How many years were you coaching at your first Division II? You said, right?
I was there for 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
And you were that good, you just got taken straight into Georgia.
No. I actually went on a different path and tried the country club. Coaching and high performance coaching at a T-Bar-M tennis academy in Dallas.
Oh, awesome.
Because I wanted to see where I fit as a coach, what fit me best. And I really loved the developmental side and working with younger kids. But there's something about college tennis that is so much fun. And when you're a player and you know what it's like to feel that success, you miss it. And you miss competing, and you miss that feeling of being on a team.
Do you feel like a lot of players, we come across a lot of high performance players at that 15, 16 age bracket, and a lot of them feel like they just want to go into the pros straight away. Do you feel like that's a good pathway for a lot of people, or they should do the college tennis scene first, then turn pro? Because I know like other sports, like college is a must. you know, like football, even golf these days, and basketball. Like you just go to college and it gives you the best pathway. But tennis is kind of it's like kind of hit and miss, right, for some people.
Absolutely.
What's your view on that?
I'm a big believer in college tennis.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of growth that happens in your 4 years, and obviously some people don't stay for all 4 years and they stay 2, 3, but I think those years are extremely important because being on a team can teach you so many lessons.
Yeah.
And you have every single resource at your fingertips, so why not utilize that opportunity and see what it's like to be at the highest level of your sport collegiately before you really dedicate yourself to the pro level.
So, and your program now, obviously you're the head coach, so you're the decision maker, you make the rules, right?
Yeah.
What makes your program, say, different to other programs out there? What are you doing differently from your experiences?
I think my relationship with all my players is the special part about our program. I'm extremely close with all of them, and there's a certain level of respect that you don't get at every program, and it goes both ways. Like, I respect them as much as they respect me, and I have a really, really strong relationship with all of them that allows them to communicate with me openly about anything.
Right.
And it's extremely important when, especially if you're an international student athlete coming to a new place, new state, and dealing with a bunch of changes, you want to have that channel of communication with your coach where it's open and comfortable.
You're almost like part of their family. It's like it sounds very family oriented.
Exactly.
Very
exactly.
Like, friendly place to be.
Yeah. And you know, a bunch of coaches say that, oh, it's a family here and all this, but it's truly not. And so that's my goal, is to create something I didn't have as a player for them.
Depends on the coach, right? You got
100%.
What they're trying to get. That's why you got to have these interviews with coaches when you're doing your visits, right? To kind of determine, do you have that click?
100%.
So on your team, is it many Americans, internationals? What kind of percentages do you have going on?
Typically, we have a all international team.
Oh, really?
Right now, we have one American,
right,
actually, and she's been doing great. And that's another great thing about coming to college tennis. You get to meet a lot of different players who come from different backgrounds and cultures, and see how you mesh with them and learn how to create relationships with such different people.
Did you actively just look for internationals, or did you just take the best players that literally you see? Yeah.
When I recruit, I look for character first, so it doesn't really matter to me where they're from and kind of how we click player to coach. I think it's very important. But I love American players, I love international players, whatever kid that has the qualities I'm looking for, that fits best, that Georgia State is the one that I want.
Awesome. So tell us about your program then. What is like a day? Let's say you've just recruited, say, myself, although I wouldn't be on your team because I can't play tennis very well. What should I expect to be on your program? What's going to happen as like a day-to-day routine? Like, when am I getting training, gym, or schoolwork? Like,
so super exciting stuff you won't believe. Typical day is maybe a workout in the morning and straight to practice. Usually in the fall, that's what it's like. We have 3 times a week. We go into the gym, lift, or go out to the football field, do some sprints and agility work, have breakfast, and then we go straight to the courts and practice for 2 hours. Then the girls have class the rest of the day. Sometimes they come together and do ice bath or a stretching session together. That's when they bond, and also they do team dinners every single day of the week. That's a huge part of our culture as well. But in the spring, things are a little bit different. They usually go into lift twice a week in the morning and practice in the afternoon for the same 2 hours. And usually it's 2 hours every single player. Every day, but it's on some days it's team practice, some days they're group practices with 4 girls, or we have individual sessions. Oh, cool.
And that's kind of what, consistent Monday till Friday, or then?
Monday through Thursday during the spring, because usually we leave Thursday for matches for the weekend.
Awesome. And then, so how do you, like, on your team, what is it, like 10 people, 11? How many have you got on your team?
We have 8 currently.
8 currently in your team. And how many get to go to the tournament?
Usually in the spring, 7 travel.
So how so one's getting left out sometimes, right? So how are you picking your team? Is it based on performances, or do you do like internal competition? Like, I know in golf we had like internal competitions, and then we got picked. How are you doing it in your
That's a great
tennis
question,
program?
actually, because I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
It's very important that every player on the team understands the process.
Right.
So for me, being a great teammate is number one.
Right.
I don't care if you beat everyone on the team. If you're not a good teammate, you're not going.
Right.
And so that's number one. Number two
so no McDonald's on your team?
No. Oh, no. And they learn that really quick. So yeah, being a great teammate first, and then internal competition as well.
Right.
And how you compete. It's not just like winning, but how are you competing? Is it, in a high quality way? Are you being kind of disrespectful to a teammate?
Yeah.
So.
And is it? I know that in golf at least, it's different. Every coach has their own style. Is that the same in the tennis world? And every coach has got a different type of way they do it.
Absolutely. I think now the diversity among coaches at our level is huge. I mean, there's so many different personalities out there, and that's why kids now have a lot of different options.
Right.
And they want to be with.
And that's key when the kids are coming to kind of find what they like. Because if the gel isn't good, it's not a good experience normally, is it? If you don't get on with each other,
Exactly.
It's almost like a 4-year marriage, right? It's
Yes.
got to work for 4 years, otherwise you're not going to like the experience. So
Absolutely.
It's good to understand from the coach, how do you coach, how do you set the team members? So that's cool. And do you find that the athletes ask you these questions on the visits, or do you find sometimes they're just looking like in awe of all the facilities and they forget to ask the key questions?
I've had a mix of both. I've had players that are really in control and determined to find the best place and do their research, and they're very committed to the process, and they ask a lot of great questions. But then there are other players that are quiet. They don't say much. They just smile and nod, and their parents do the talking.
Right.
Which is great. I love when parents are involved, but there has to be a sense of involvement from the player more than the parents, and that's something that I look at as well. Right,
especially for your program, so it's very teammate, family kind of base. You want some involvement from the athlete. Cool. So and in your campus, do the athletes live on campus or off campus? So
they have the option to live on or off, but typically they've lived on campus all 4 years because Georgia State's an urban campus, and everything's really close by. You don't really need a car or anything like that to get around, and that's what's great about Atlanta. You have everything at your fingertips, so close by.
It's a very cool city.
Yeah,
it's a wicked city.
It's very international as well, so that's attractive.
And when you're competing in season, are you traveling? Is it like every weekend? Is it every other? I mean, how many times are you realistically traveling to tournaments when you're playing?
In the spring, typically every weekend. Sometimes there are 1 or 2 off weekends throughout the season, but mostly every weekend. At least 1 match, if not 2. Sometimes 3 with a double header thrown in there. So it's important to be prepared for anything.
And when you're traveling, is it by private jets? I know the football teams, they get a lot of private jets. Or is it more realistic,
We actually have a private helicopter.
No way. We can get everybody in the helicopter. That must be an army
We can just stop the podcast there so everyone thinks we have one. No, we travel, just normal coach.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. But Southwest is huge for us.
Yeah.
It's because they have the free bags.
So
obviously we're going to utilize that. But yeah, we don't fly that much, to be honest, because Georgia State is in what I believe is the best region in the country for competition. So we have SEC schools that are in very close proximity. We go play, or ACC schools. So anyone we want to play that's at the highest level is 2 to 4 hours away. And
that's a good thing, because a lot of athletes think it's really glamorous to travel, but once you actually start doing it, it's tiring.
Yes.
You got school, and you got to travel, and then you got to play. It's okay, it's fun for the first 2 weeks, but then after the 3rd, 4th, I'm tired now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good you're nearby everything, so you're not having to be always too tired. So you've got time to recuperate as well.
And the van rides are the girls' favorite thing. Honestly, they can study if they want to, or they can blast the music. and drive coach crazy with the, you know, reggaeton or whatever they want to play. It's a lot of fun, and that's how they bond as well.
Did when you were playing, was that kind of your fun experiences in the coach and driving and stuff?
Yes.
I know for me it was as well. It's always the antics happening there.
Yeah, 100%. And you have all your inside jokes that happen in those moments, and that's what you remember.
Right, yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so let's talk about the recruitment process itself, because I know the program you have is awesome and location-wise is great, but what are you looking for in an athlete? Obviously you talked about the personality stakes, but let's talk about more the tennis itself.
Sure.
You know, are you looking at their UTR? What is it that's going into your thought process?
Initially, if I don't know the player and they email me and they seem interesting, I look at the UTR first, but that's not all I look at. The first thing I do is call that player, or I message them, set up a call, then we talk, or FaceTime. FaceTime's honestly great because you can not only get their tone, but see them and how they act. And first thing I look for is character, and it's hard to get that over the phone. So obviously the next step is for me to do a home visit, and those are my favorite because I see how the players with their family, their coach at practice, maybe even in a tournament, and it shows a lot just being in their world for 1 or 2 days. See how it's going on. It's invaluable.
And then let's talk about the email thing. I've had a lot of kind of talks with coaches. They get like tons of emails, just simply can't go through them all. You mentioned that you would look at one. So would you look at all your emails, or is there a particular one you're looking for?
I tend to open all of them, but the worst is if a player emails me and says, "Dear Coach so-and-so," and it's not my name.
Right, they just
but it's Georgia State in the email. Right. So they're just sending, you know, an email to everyone, and they forget to change certain things, and so it doesn't feel like you're interested in our school. You're just kind of fishing. So that shows you didn't do your research.
Right, and you just kind of like, next.
So when it comes from the player and I show that they really have looked into Georgia State and they're interested in certain programs, I'll respond.
Right. Do you, if an athlete was to email you versus coming from someone you know and trust, like someone that you worked with to bring players in, do they have a much more of an advantage coming from like a referral, or would you?
Yes.
They do.
100%.
Just because it's someone you know and trust that you're gonna got it.
Yes.
That's what I've seen a lot with coaches. You know, it's about who you know almost kind of deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And UTR, is that something? I know it's kind of been up in the air with some coaches. Like I've got mixed reviews. What's your reviews on it? Because I see from talking to coaches, it's kind of like.
I feel like UTR is great when it's accurate, but a lot of times it's not, in my opinion. You know, a few girls that are on our team now, their UTRs were either non-existent and they're playing top 3 in our lineup, or their UTR was very low and they go out and play in college matches and they beat players that they should have no business beating based on their UTR. So I feel like it is helpful maybe for the higher level D1 programs. They're more accurate when they look at those caliber players, but for mid-majors it's up and down.
So it's not like a guaranteed success just because UTR is amazing means you're going to get in. It's more behind the whole scope of everything.
Yeah, you can't just rely on UTR. You have to put in the work.
And academically, what are you looking for? Because I know as any sport athlete, it's all about the sport. But you know, parents are like, "Hey, schoolwork." So what are you looking for in school?
What's great about tennis players is that usually they're doing really well in their academics. And at Georgia State, our teams won the highest GPA award for the last 3-4 years, and even before I got there, they were winning the award. Not only among other student athletes at Georgia State and other programs, but within the conference as well. So we do have a high standard, and we do have a legacy in that regard that we're trying to uphold. So I do pay attention to the academics as well.
What would be like the preferred kind of SAT score they would have to get to be considered for your program?
Above a 450.
450?
Yeah, in both.
Both, so yeah, that's going to set us low. I was like, wait a minute, 450?
Everyone's applying.
Okay, so in both. Okay, so it's 900 then in total. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you regarding the schoolwork and all this process goes into it. What do you see athletes doing as the biggest mistake when they're doing their, just maybe your process or other recruitment processes when they're looking at schools? What do you see the one biggest thing they're always doing wrong?
In the recruitment process, they don't communicate well.
Right.
And honestly, or openly, it's kind of like, we understand as coaches you have your agenda, if you will, and you're looking for the best fit, but for me, if you're not a good fit for us, I'll still help you find another place. I don't have a problem with that. Maybe not everyone's like that, but for me, if I'll tell you straight up, this is not for you, but maybe reach out to so-and-so, it seems like a better fit. But if you're not open and if you're not open to some help and some criticism, it's going to be a tough ride. Do you feel with the whole the way the world's going with social media? Yeah. You can see where I'm going to go with this, right? You can see it. Maybe. The kids are going, they're struggling more with the communication. They're used to just texting and shorting things down. Yeah. So they're lacking like maybe the skills we had when we did our process, maybe 10 years ago. And that's maybe kind of the cause of it. And then they kind of, because it's so easy now on social media just to blast stuff out, they're just blasting themselves to any coach, see what comes back. Yes, so that's where I kind of wanted to go as well with that is I get messages on Instagram, which is great. Yeah. But they're kind of rude. Yeah. Honestly, it's like, hey, do you have a scholarship? I'm like, oh, I do. How are you? Good to meet you electronically anyway, but. They need to understand that you have to have a certain level of respect and need to learn how to communicate with a coach. And they're in a position of authority, and of course they want to have great kids on their team, but if you don't have that foundation of respect and effective communication, it's very difficult. I'm so glad you noticed that, because one thing we always tell our clients is about building a relationship. Yeah. Starting the process early, as young as 14, 15, finding the right programs based on what you're trying to achieve out of it, not just blasting out to everybody. I'm not going to connect you with a school, that doesn't have business if you want to do business. It makes sense. You've got to get the fits right. Yes. And then build a relationship for like 2 years. Yeah. Because then by the time you get to the end of it, it's like, well, maybe there is a better player that comes to you on Instagram, but if you know this player for 2 years and it's been recommended by someone it's a better fit. Absolutely. Right? And I think the kids nowadays are just like blah. It's like kind of blah, see what happens, and like see, sometimes they're rude. But I don't think it's because they intentionally are rude people. I agree. They just don't know they're being rude sometimes. I agree. And sometimes I tell them that in a nice way, like, oh, next time. Yeah. Maybe refer to coaches when you email them this way, and that'll help you get a response as well. But when would you recommend is a good time for an athlete to start their process? Beginning their tennis development or looking into colleges and when they should get scholarships? I think that sophomore year is critical in kind of putting your feelers out there, seeing where you want to be location-wise, what kind of coaching style you want, what kind of team you want. And I think writing that down is huge, because once it's written down, it's there and you have a focus. But if you just keep thinking and you don't put any action into it, your process is going to be complicated and long. Because there's a lot of steps. You got to do the clearinghouse, SATs, you got to find the schools, do the visits, do your resume. So it's not just like say a quick Instagram message saying, hey, give me a scholarship, right? So there's a lot more into it. What would you say is the kind of the way, where do you see the recruitment world going? Do you see it's more going into tournaments, online? I know we're building a platform now for athletes to connect with coaches, but where do you see the scope going for recruitment with athletes down the road? I honestly have really enjoyed going to not only tournaments, but online's important, but for me, it'll never change to go out and watch and get to know a player face to face. Got it. To see them in person and how they play. Yeah, and meet their family too. Anything that'll help me get an inside look into how they really are, their true character is big. Awesome. What if you were to give an athlete say one quick good tip? What would you recommend? Could be anything. It could be about recruitment, choosing a school, development, tennis. What would you recommend? I would say focus on becoming a great team player now, so you don't have to learn when you go to college, especially for tennis players, because we are used to being individuals and competing, and you're going into a team environment. However you can go into a team environment and learn how to be a great teammate will be a huge asset.
Yeah, make a big difference in the future.
Absolutely.
And the athletes that have played at your program, have they gone on to do, great things after? I assume if they're great academics, they're surely going to go to great jobs in the country or maybe turn pro.
Yeah.
What's been what most of your athletes have done?
I have 2 players right now getting their master's degrees, and one is in Atlanta working in the finance arena, and she's doing really well. One is going to be my GA next year, so I'm excited to have her. She's playing for the Venezuelan Fed Cup team this week as well. So
good
great
stuff
kids.
there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I've really enjoyed having our conversation today, learning more about your program, how you recruit. I think some very useful tips there for the audience watching. I hope you like West Palm. It's nice and sunny
here.
for you.
Yeah, it's been great.
Came on a good day. It's always sunny, but sometimes it rains, and it's like I swear something rains more in England, especially in the summer.
Florida, though, right?
I know, in the summer it's like every day, but it's always in the evening. It's like a massive thunderstorm, but you want it because you're so hot all day.
Yes.
Cool. We hope to maybe come to your program sometime. Check it out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, wish you a safe trip home, and thanks for coming to our ASM office. Appreciate it. See you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to watch plenty more videos to come on our YouTube channel, and definitely go check out Georgia State University if you're interested in playing tennis. It'll be a good spot. Take care.